And that was the sprint races. In the Shielded Club, we also flew the short one-day races, that one-night basket races. And basically that was the Dordogne races, which is 220 miles. Basket Friday for a Saturday release. Then if we flew a provincial race, which was 300 and over, that was 2 nights basket, we would go to San Antonio, the basket, art, and basket there. If we flew a long distance race, we would have to go to St. Job and basket there 3 or 4 days before the race. There may be 4 days in transit. Barcelona is basketed on Sunday afternoon for a Friday release. The week of Barcelona, we flew 8 or 9 races that week. We were in the club basking every night but one. And so it was an experience. But, so what I mean about program flyers, not everybody can fly that kind of schedule. There's too much effort, too much time. And so what you tend to get is people that will fly the one-day races. One-night baskets. They only want pigeons in their basket one night. Well, that's only out to about 240 miles. George Van Riel, the son of the Huskin Van Riel fame, he loved only one night in the basket. He wouldn't fly them if there were 2 nights in the basket unless it was the end of the season. His cocks were too wiry. He thought they fought too much. If they spent 2 nights in the basket, they were going to fight all the time. So he only liked to ship one night in the basket. He loved to pool. But now it's changed more and more. There's less and less sprint flyers, and more people are going to the middle distance. Some of the clubs are backing off, and so they're merging together. San Antonio's club has been there for 100 years, is closing down, and they're merging into 2 other clubs. But the density is still there. In Antwerp province, there's still about 8,000 or 9,000 pigeon flyers. And you can fly at whatever club and at whatever level you want to fly at. If you want to fly with the big boys and play for a lot of money, you go to St. Job, and they'll gamble all you want to gamble. You got Andre Rodehoff for Common, a bunch of the top lofts that will gamble with you a lot. And if you want to fly for fun and fly social, you fly the short distance sprint races. And these guys play cards every night when they ship, when they figure, and they have a good time. So there's all kinds of levels to fly in, and you kind of pick the level you want to be in. If you're hardcore and serious, they might put a little pressure on you to move out of their club and go to the other club. But I think they only wanted me to go about 20 minutes, so I'll take a couple questions. Anything you want to talk about. I've been to Belgium 4 times this year. I've been to Belgium and Holland over 100 times.
Rick, when they send them off to that race for 4 days in the crates, do they feed them normal before
they only feed them corn.
They just give them corn.
They only feed corn. That's all they feed them is corn. And one of the things they do in Belgium, which I think a lot of people here can learn, when they basket at night, even for the short race, there's water in the basket right while you're basketing. And those birds will go drink immediately. When they put the bird in the basket for the race, even a sprint race, he'll walk over there and get a drink right there. So, but when they basket for 3 or 4 nights in the basket, they usually only feed corn. The reason it's 4 nights in the basket, and maybe I'll tell you that, is it's probably an international race. So you got Germany, Holland, France, and Belgium flying. On Barcelona, every pigeon is physically checked at Barcelona to make sure it's there in the basket. 25,000 pigeons. So they can't do it in 1 day or 2 days. So they need 3 or 4 days, and they have a huge tent. They pull the crates in, check them. They put a stamp on their wing, an ink stamp, and it could be a letter, it could be a number, it could be anything. And on those races, they still use counter marks. Your electronic clock counts, but they still put 2 identical counter marks. They call them gummies in Belgium. They put 2 gummies, 1 on each leg. They're identical. And when the bird comes from the race, he clocks electronically. You pull 1 counter mark, put it immediately in the clock, and you have to have the other counter mark call in that number to the club within 5 minutes and have it in a clock, and call the letter or the number that's stamped on the wing. So they don't trust too many people. That's really, yeah, Don. $7, €7 to go to Barcelona. So that's about, right now that's over $10. $10 to ship Barcelona. Cost about €1, excuse me, €1, so $1.35, $1.40 a bird to ship. It's not uncommon for a big loft to spend $100 a week shipping, $150 a week shipping. But that's why in Belgium it's all about pooling. Most of the clubs have pooling, and they pay back at a ratio of 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, depending. And some of the bigger pots pay 10 to 1 or 25 to 1. And so it's all about the bird paying his way, making money, covering his cost. And so if you watch an example, the Antwerp Union, it may start with 2,000 pigeons the first 2 races. By the 15th race, there's 400 pigeons. Because they done got rid of the ones that can't win. They're not shipping them anymore. Or that guy that's not flying good isn't participating. He's went back to another club. But their numbers, now in Holland, there's no pooling. There's no pooling in Holland, Netherlands. And so they'll ship the same number of pigeons from the start of the year to the end of the year, except for losses. But in Belgium, it's all about winning money. So they'll start, the numbers are going to be the highest the first 2 weeks, and they'll go downhill after that. So, yeah.
How many square miles is the Antwerp Union?
Antwerp Union is probably about 15 miles wide and about 40 miles long. 40 miles east and west, 15 miles north and south.
8,000 flyers.
Yeah, 7,000, 8,000 still. There's still a lot of clubs. You know, when I first went to Belgium, there was still 100,000 flyers. Now there's about probably 35 to 40,000. But if you go within a 100-mile radius of Antwerp province, you're into Holland. You're actually right over on the Dutch border on the 2 sides. You still got about 70,000 flyers in a 100-mile radius. So there's still a heavy population. Heavy population. Yeah.
When you're buying these breeding birds like out of Holland and Belgium, how do you know you're getting that bird? Are they all individually bred?
How do I know?
Like say you're going to buy a baby off of these birds. How do you know that true bloodline? Are they all singularly bred?
No. Matter of fact, in Belgium, in Holland, very few are individually bred pens. Very few.
So it could be, you really don't know then.
Well, you got to have faith in the guy you're doing business with. And if he's been around a guy, one of the differences between this country, shall we say, than in Europe is there's a lot more control from the national organizations because they're smaller, close to each other. They find somebody fooling around, they'll suspend him. They find somebody playing games, but I mean, their intention is to sell you that. And typically, what I do, I just bought one of the hottest flyers right now is a guy named Albert Duroy. Somebody asked me what the next group might be, and Duroy could be the next hot item. He's really flying well. He's a small loft. One of the things that might keep him from being there is that he's got all different kinds of pigeons in his background, but he's got one particular line through a bird called Pauline and her mother Valeska. They bred a lot of winners. But you just got to have faith. I bought a whole round. I bought a youngster from every pair in the breeding loft. Okay, and he's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He wouldn't intentionally do anything. But it can happen anywhere. But I will tell you this, to what you're talking about. I breed from a lot of pigeons. This is my 25th breeding season in the Continental Breeding Station. In all my years, I've only seen, I had one red cock and one pen that I had a youngster in a nest that was red. In 25 years. So I don't think there's near as much crossbreeding as we think.
Unless you got a lot of blue bars.
Huh?
Unless you got a lot of blue bars.
What I'm saying is, though, where I've had a situation where you could see it, I've only seen it once 100%. I have 16 couples in a compartment. Okay, the nest box set up with the belts, and I've only seen once. Now, yeah, from the others you can't tell, but still, I just don't think it's as prevalent. I think we all had that fear, but I think the fear better be you're getting quality. Every bird in that breeding loft better be worth breeding from. But my individuals, I have 40 individual pens for the more expensive birds. But you know, anything else we can go. How much time we got? But what else can I tell you? And I'll be glad to talk to any at any time independently. I'll tell you how I race. I work hard at it. I've flown pigeons since 1960.